What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of For the Love of Bodybuilding. My name is Logan Schultz, and my co-host Ian Powell. How are we doing today,
Yo, yo,
buddy?
yo. We are doing good. We are enjoying this lovely rainy weather here in Texas. And I feel like we're about to get a pretty gnarly cold front. So that's going to be real fun to deal with.
I think we're potentially expecting snow this week.
Snow. Oh, my
Yeah, I
God.
think later in the week I saw something that there was a possibility of snow, so that'll
It's
be
just
fun.
29, 32 degrees Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Yeah, it's freezing.
Yeah,
There's a chance. You're
there's a
saying there's a
chance.
chance.
There's a
Or it's
chance.
like some
I think
light
I think
rain.
there's rain on those days too.
Yep.
So I think that's where the potential for snow will come in. But
Yeah.
let's talk about stress management today.
Yes, stress. We all go through stress. Some of us are able to handle it better than others. And depending on where we are, like in bodybuilding, if it's an off-season stressor or if it's a contest prep and there's things kind of going on, I really kind of like to look at it in a few different ways. But I think one of the most important ones is emotional stress and being able to deal with emotional stress is like perfect for New Year's, right? We haven't been eating food on plan. I've been kind of chilling on New Year's. Now feel, I'm ashamed or I feel, embarrassed because I've put on 10 pounds in last 2 months or something like that. I feel like starting off and figuring out kind of what is causing these stressors is your first kind of diagnostic tool to be able to kind of break it down. Now, there's obviously other stressors that we can't tackle. I'm one of those people who, if everybody ever heard me or see me talk, I'm kind of an what it is kind of guy. I only can control what I can control. If I cannot control it, I just do my best to just let it go. And that's a practical, I can do it pretty good, but like people think that I've been able to do this for a long time. It's like, no, there was a lot of times in my life where I cannot, where it is what it is, did not work. Coping with certain stresses and life things that happened to me and stuff like that. Sometimes it's just really impossible to kind of see through.
Yeah. So for me, when I think of stress, I think the biggest common misconception is what are stressors, and I don't really think that most people understand that things like training and cardio, those are stressors. Things like under eating could potentially be a stressor, or vastly overeating. Your relationships with people, your job, your daily activity, um, you know, most things nowadays can be considered a stressor, and it's all about finding the balance between all of them, right? You have a perceived level of stress, and then how much the body is actually under stress and how high cortisol levels are. So, what are some things that what are some signs that when you're working with somebody, you're starting to question their stress management skills, or maybe they've got too much stress going on in their life? So, like, does that make sense? Does that question make
Yeah.
sense? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. One of the first things that I kind of see whenever somebody's stress is really, really high is the fact that the lack of adherence and their lack of motivation is significantly hindered, right? It's could be motivation to say this person loves working out, like they are a workout fiend, and all of a sudden there's like, nah, I really haven't felt like working out this week and stuff like that. Or like, yeah, like I think I missed a few meals or something like
Mm.
that. It's almost a lack of transparency is one of the first things that I see. And they could be going through like a divorce or something kind of crazy in their life, or they just got fired from their job, or jobs changing, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I think it's important with your coach, you don't have to go into details, but you just have to let them know, like, hey, like I got some personal things going on.
Hmm.
What are some kind of tips and tricks and tools that, I can use that can, counter this? And a lot of it for me is control what you can control, and what you can't control is your routine.
Yeah.
You can find your routine. You can find things that are meaningful to you. You can find, if you have the time, you can find a hobby like 30 minutes to an hour a day that brings you joy, that's outside of the realm of your normal routine, something that gives you like an endorphin rush in a sense. Um, But I do feel like a lot of people do struggle whenever they don't have a routine and they're out of routine to find that routine that allows them to cope with the stress.
Yeah.
So how do you usually handle, or what do you usually see whenever you have a client that's maybe haven't checked in a few weeks, or maybe they're just not being responsive?
So generally speaking, I don't have too many clients that skip check-ins, um, or that especially they don't check in several weeks in a row. What generally happens for me is I see a shift in like body composition or the way that they're responding to the training, or the nutrition, right? Or maybe their physique starts to look a little bit tired. They start to look a little bit watery. Um, and then I'm paying attention to sleep and things of that nature, right? Um, and then we're also taking into account, like, are they on drugs? Are they are we in a calorie surplus or deficit? And what does training look like, right? And so I'm generally kind of keeping an eye on those things, and those are the things that tend to slip in my within the people that I coach. I don't
Mhm.
generally see people slip off plan too much, outside of the people that normally slip off plan, right? Like the normal stuff. Um,
I
but
do think sleep is one of the ones that you briefly kind of mentioned. Yeah, talk a little bit more about like kind of because people don't realize that sleep is a huge stressor, and that's something that I really started to kind of hone in on the last few months or year for me. Sleep is something that is extremely important. It's going to limit your ability to get shredded, and it's going to limit your ability to grow.
oh
It's
yeah,
one of those things that you don't even think about.
it's not even those things. Like a lack of sleep literally starts to deteriorate your brain. Like
Hmm.
getting 2 hours less sleep than you normally do, automatically starts to hinder most bodily functions. And then you do that multiple days in a row, it just compounds and gets worse. And so, a couple of things that whenever I see sleep start to slip with somebody, I automatically start with light into the room. That's the first thing I look at, right? It's um, are they using blackout curtains? Do they have light coming in around the windows? Do they have fluorescent lights from maybe like outlets, or fire smoke alarms? Do we just have ambient lighting coming into the room? We want the room as dark as possible. Okay. If we can fix that, I can almost guarantee you your sleep's going to automatically get better. Um, Second thing is the temperature of the room. We would really ideally like it to be below 68 degrees, somewhere in that. I think 65 to 68 degrees is where your body likes it the best. And that's where we sleep the best. A couple of other things are like your nighttime routine. So that hour before bed, are you looking at blue light? For some people, what I have found is that for some people, this is a massive factor. But for me, it doesn't change anything. So if I don't look at blue light an hour before bed, it changes nothing for me at all. For me, the ambient light coming into the room is the biggest thing. So that's generally where I start with people, and we can see a change and a shift in sleep automatically. And automatically, you're going to see a shift in how they wake up feeling and their energy levels. So that tells us right there that we're already decreasing the stress load.
Yep, I think all those are really important, and I literally need all of them for me to sleep really really well. I like my room as dark as possible. I like the AC to be as cold as well tolerable. Right? It's one thing to like wake up and then your freaking house is just frigid. Okay,
Yeah.
so like I think 70. Some ACs are actually really good where you put it on 70 degrees and it's actually really cold. So yeah, so it's
I'm,
like is
let,
yours
let,
is yours not like that?
okay. I'll have the house set at like 67. And well, what we generally do is we leave it at like 70, and we have an AC in the room that gets the room down to 62.
Oh, okay, yeah. See, that's what that's a good thing to have is have your own little unit
Yeah.
in your room.
Yeah. And so like I'll have like the other night I turned it down to I turned the house down to 67 with the unit at 62. and I'm still waking up sweating. So
Yeah, that's very house dependent for sure. Because
no,
I have
that's me. That's just me.
yeah, well, maybe you need a fan because usually what I do is I have it on like a low temperature, and then I'll have a fan above me and a fan to my side. I'll black out the window and stuff
You
like
got
that.
two
So
fans.
I got two fans. Yeah, I'm really hot, especially, and this obviously varies. If
Yeah,
I'm in prep, it's not a big deal at all. But if I'm pushing food and I'm pushing body weight, I'm very I get really hot really fast. I'll eat a meal and I'll be burning up in 5-10 minutes. It's one of those things.
that's funny
So
because I'm actually the opposite.
yeah, well, at night in prep, you are hot. You're hotter.
Hmm. I'll be sweating like crazy in prep, but in the off season, I don't really sweat a ton, which is
Hmm.
weird. I don't know.
Yeah, that is very strange.
It's very strange.
And obviously, that things can increase that, right? If you're taking certain PEDs
Yep.
or if you're taking certain metabolism, taking thyroid stuff
Yep.
like that. All these things can totally contribute to that.
Yeah. For
But
sure.
yeah, generally, when regards to stress, I mean, even PEDs is a huge stress, and if you
Hmm.
don't really realize it, I feel like that's what people don't really realize, and they do continue to run cycles and nonstop. They're never giving their body a break from the stressors, so they're having a ton of oxidative stress, and they're capping themselves out in a sense of just the way they feel, or maybe side effects that they're feeling. So PEDs is also another big stressor that not a lot of people don't really think about. But I usually like to think of stress and stuff like that as like a bucket, right? So let's say train is the foundation, right? Like let's say you wake up and you're not restful, right? You're okay. So obviously you got poor sleep. Something happened in a relationship with maybe you and a friend or you and a loved one, and that's causing you stress. You go to work and your boss is just shitty, or you're just having a shitty day at work. Things aren't going right, sales aren't going right, whatever it is. So that causes you to miss a meal because you're stressed out about that. So now you have the missed meal on top of that, and then you go and train, and then you're doing squats and stuff like that. So you literally have 5 different things that are just drown in your stress bucket, and that's where you kind of see these lack of motivation. You even see like digestive issues and stuff like that, water retention,
Hmm.
and even strength loss because you're so fatigued and you're so stressed that your body's not getting the rest that it needs, and you need to manage your stressors by like having like training like a deload week or a week where you just taper things back a little bit. Take a nap. I'm one of those people where my sleep is it's good, but like there's things that I'm doing this year that I'm trying to improve them on. So I need to have like a daily nap. Like I usually try to have one in the afternoon if I can. Some people like to meditate, something I haven't really gotten into, but people really like that. Obviously, eating more because if you're not eating enough, it can cause your body to have a stress because you're just in a caloric deficit.
Hmm.
And like I said, PEDs, and also just try to make things fun. Like do things in your routine that give you joy. Like I was telling you about, like just finding a hobby, like an hour a day or 30 minutes a day, where maybe reading a book is your thing. Go into a
Hmm.
quiet corner of the home, read your book, go through a chapter or two, and that allows find ways to kind of decompress yourself without adding anything physical or anything
Yeah.
emotional tagged onto it.
Yeah. And I look at it as a bucket as well, right? But when I'm looking at the bucket, right, I look at what are the things that we can't change that are stressors that we know are going to be stressors, right? So your job, your relationship, right? And the relationship portion, there's always going to be a general stress related to it, right? Because you're navigating make another person, you're living with them and your family, maybe you have kids, right? Like there's going to be some kind of baseline level of stress that comes with that. And right, and obviously if you have a good marriage versus a bad one, like there's different levels to it, right? And that depends on how much it fills up that bucket. But then there's stressors that we can control a little bit more, which is going to be things like PEDs, like training, like cardio, like extra activities, stuff like that, right? And I do believe that doing things that make you happy are going to reduce those stress levels within the body and how your body is responding to that stress, right? And
Mhm.
how you mentally handle that stress is going to directly correlate with how well your body is responding to that stress. So if we get somebody and their bucket starts to overflow, if they can identify it themselves, then like me or you, if we're having an overly stressful day, I think that we are able to dictate, is this something I need to mentally go into the gym and I can work through it, right? Like I can go in here and have a really hard session, and the stress that I experience today is not going to hinder my recoverability. Okay. Versus this was way too much stress. I missed meals. I did not sleep. XYZ happened. My recoverability is going to be affected. So I'm going to back off of everything by 20, 30, 40%. Right. And once you learn to navigate that, well, now we can manage that stress bucket a little bit better. Um, and continue to progress, and we don't have to completely come off cycle. We don't have to completely take a deload week. We don't have to completely reset everything. If we can auto regulate and manage that stress bucket a little bit better, then we can continue to make progress better. That's
Yeah,
really
I
what I think.
think. Yeah, no, I think that's perfect, and I think the more you do it, the more you kind of learn. And I think one of the biggest ones out of everything you said was auto-regulating training. It's something
Mhm.
that I have a lot of experience in, and then the more you do it, you will have experience. But if you're able to auto-regulate your training, because there's just some things that happen in life that you just like if you get poor sleep, sometimes like you did everything perfect and you just slept like shit.
Yeah,
Like things like this
it
happen,
happens.
or you get really busy, or something like that happens, or an emergency pops up and you're not able to eat a meal that you're supposed to eat at this time, and you're supposed to work out at this time, and you have to push things back. It's understanding how to auto-regulate that, and understanding when you need a break, like from the gym, or if you just need to go in and have a light pump session, something
Yeah.
fun, and you don't have to worry about like, oh shit, I have to squat 500 for a set of 10. Like that's going to be extremely stressful, and already like whenever you train like that and you have that level of intensity into your workouts, it's already a stressor from day one. The
Yeah.
minute you wake up on a leg day, you're like, oh, like I gotta go in there today and squat this and like press that and do all these things that are hugely impacting your recovery.
Yeah. So I think we both just accidentally told people how to identify when it's time to pull training back and when it's not in a specific day. So I think as a rule of thumb, you could go, if I'm having a lot of mental stress, maybe going and working out really hard and just kind of maybe you don't even worry about your PRs or your progressive overload or anything like that, but you go into the gym, you have fun, and you train your butt off. That could be a very good mental release, and that may not affect your recoverability. However, on the opposite side of that, if you're having a lot of physical stressors, such as missing meals, your sleep is deprived, your water intake isn't as good, or stuff like that, like you're having the stressors that are physically affecting you, then it's time we pull back training. Okay. We don't want to add another physical stressor onto you. Okay. So I think that we kind of identified those two buckets and when it's time to auto regulate training, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's definitely one of the big ones. And obviously one I didn't even mention that shouldn't go without saying, but yes, if you're using alcohol, it is going to be a massive stressor. It's going to impact your recovery. If you like recreational drugs, it will impact your recovery. Some of these things I feel like I shouldn't say, but I think if you understand that, like, yeah, you're not going to perform your best if you're out there
100%.
drinking 2 or 3 nights, and you're staying out late and whatever it is. It's not going to help you.
No, not at all. And uh, obviously, like, look, I don't want to ever tell people, especially when I feel like we interact with a lot of young people on a normal basis. By young, I mean 22 and younger,
Mhm.
like 16 to 22. Probably more like 18 to 22. But I don't ever want to be the hypocrite and telling them, like, don't do this, don't do that, right? Because I did it. I did all of it.
Mhm.
You name it, I did it, right? Like, except for like hardcore illicit drugs, right? Like I didn't really do much of that. But
You never did meth. Never
no,
tried
no,
heroin.
no, never did. So I try not to be hypocritical in that aspect, but it is like when you're younger, your body can handle more. You can eat like crap and you can still grow like really well. It's more just about getting the calories in. But to the point, like if you're still drinking 3 times a week, it doesn't really matter what stage of life you're in, like it's still going to hinder your progress. And so it's on you to determine where you want to take it and what you're willing to give up and kind of what time frame you want to do it in. It's on you to determine, like, is this drinking and partying worth me sacrificing the progress that I'm making? For me, it wasn't. Um, at a time in my life, though, it was.
And I
So
think we all have that time period too. Like it's okay. Like I feel like that's also one of those things that like you have to understand and kind of go through and be aware of kind of like what's kind of going on
yeah,
when you're doing these things. Because obviously when we were both probably in our early 20s, we were probably still lifting, but shit, when we could probably go out there and get shit faced and then go the
oh
next
yeah,
day and I can probably PR or at least match my stuff without really much issues, But we don't really drink and do anything anymore. So if we drink or the next day, we're like, oh my god,
for
what?
sure.
Like, there's no way I'm working out today. Like, I just need to eat. I just need to eat my food and maybe go for a walk or,
And
something like that.
you know what's crazy is I think everybody goes through that, and you see it with a lot of like phenoms, a lot of people that rise to success super early, whether it be in an athletic endeavor or whether they get famous through acting or whatever the case is, right? Like they kind of miss those youth years of experiencing drinking with your buddies, right? Like and having a good time, and then
Mhm.
they do it a little bit later in life where it has more of an impact on who they are as a person and what they're perceived as and stuff like that, right? And
Yep.
so I almost think that it's better to just go through that at an early age before you've really kind of solidified what you want to do in life, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah. Some people definitely don't go through that until later on in life. And I also feel like when it comes to this like alcohol thing, like I also feel like it's also division based as well. I mean, obviously there are some people that just have this sort of alcohol thing in them, whether it's from family or childhood or teenage years, whatever it is. They just have to this alcoholism they have to deal with. But I definitely think in some certain divisions that require less muscle, there is a little bit of more slacking off in a sense of because they don't feel like their off seasons don't need to be necessarily as
Yeah.
intense or whatever it may be. They don't have to occur a lot of muscle tissue.
Mhm.
These are for these smaller weight divisions, right? But if you're trying to push into some of these upper realms, like if you're a female and you're trying to push into these upper realms of wellness, figure, and women's physique, or if you're a bodybuilder and you're trying to do like classic at the amateur national level, if you're trying to do open bodybuilding, like there's going to be moments in time where you're not going to have time to go really party. Everything is
Yeah.
going to kind of go and build the foundation of your muscle, and yeah, alcohol is a huge stressor, and it's also a huge hinder of muscle gain and
Yeah.
progress. So
And
that's
genetics will
awesome.
play a role in that too. And like you'll see guys that grow really well, they don't have to be as perfect, right? Or guys that get shredded really well when they're dieting, they don't have to be as perfect. But I will say
Yeah.
this, no matter who you are or how good your genetics are, if you want to be at the top of the Olympia, if you want to be the best of the best, you
Hmm.
will have to make this your life and you will have to be damn near perfect 98 to 100% of the time. And
Hmm.
Paul is kind of going through a little bit of this now, right? Like Paul has been able to get to the level that he is with a mostly if it fits your macros type of approach, but he is now learning that if he hones in and if he is perfect with eating the same foods every day, that the level at which he gets better at is drastic. Like it's a big difference, okay? And um so he's learning that, right? Whereas me and you, right? Like I'm pretty freaking spot on, and when I'm in prep, everything is absolutely perfect. Exactly what I'm told to eat is exactly what I eat, right? Maybe there's some substitutions 8+ weeks out, but at like 10 to 8 weeks out, like it's exactly perfect. And by substitutions, I mean like rice noodles for rice. Like we're not
Or
even talking
potatoes,
about,
or yeah,
yeah, or
you're swapping
potatoes, right?
carbs.
Like, um, the macros are still the same, but it's like I'm swapping whole food for whole food. I'm not swapping um, peanut butter and rice for pancakes. Like,
Yeah, peanut butter is not a protein source, people.
yeah,
We're not
absolutely
swapping our chicken for peanut butter.
no. So yeah, uh, I think genetics plays a big role in how well your execution is, and to roll it back as well, like genetics play a role in stress management and how your body responds to the stress, and how much stress you can handle, and
Yep.
um, it, it just comes down to everybody is so vastly different, um, that there is no one way to do this, and that's why it takes to be a good coach. I think that you need a lot of experience working with a wide range of people and understanding how to deal with the individuality of it.
Mhm. Yep, I definitely agree. Also want to talk on something that I get a lot of, questions people ask me and clients and stuff like that in regards to stress. They feel like, oh, they have decent stress management. Maybe they're getting to sleep together, or the routine is getting a little bit better. But then they're asking me, what kind of supplements can I take to kind of reduce stress? Again, these are stress supplements that are exactly what they are. They're supplements, right? There's going to be, they're not going to be a whole bunch of, uh, you take one and you're not going to necessarily, it's not going to change everything all at once. But some of these are pretty helpful that you could do. One of them being ashwagandha. You could take 500 milligrams the last meal of the day. You could also take L-theanine is a great one. Vitamin D. I feel like not a lot of people take vitamin D, and not a lot of people get it. Most people, they say 5,000 IUs. Whatever I've seen, you need at least double or triple that. I feel like the body doesn't necessarily, you go based on your blood work, obviously, but I feel like that 10 to 15,000 IUs per day has a lot more benefits than some of the lower ones. You could look at magnesium citrate, and then obviously your omegas, and then zinc. All of these are ways to most of these are like kind of vitamin deficiencies that making sure that you have in your arsenal, so that like if you are deficient in any one of these areas, you are taking something that can kind of really help this in that essential way. So those are usually the kind of supplements that I refer out to. Do you have any other additional supplements you'd like to add to that list?
There's two notables that are on your list that I want to talk about. One is ashwagandha. Um, Make sure when you're doing ashwagandha, you're getting KSM 66. You're not buying ashwagandha root powder.
Mm-hmm.
Root powder will make you gassy. Okay. I know this firsthand because I accidentally bought root powder and I was taking 2,400 milligrams at night and I was extremely gassy. Okay. And it's not just like gas, it's like smelly gas. As soon as I
Worse.
swapped, as soon as I swapped it back to KSM 66, it went away. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So make sure that you're buying KSM 66 ashwagandha. There is really no upper limit as to what you can take on that, to be honest. Right now, post show, I'm taking 2,400 milligrams uh, at night. And it's because I'm in such a high elevated stress level from being in the show period that we're just trying to get it down and resolved, right? And I know that I am because of blood work. The other thing you said, magnesium citrate. Um, Are you sure you meant citrate? Because citrate is used to make as a diuretic. I mean, as a like laxative.
Yeah, no, it's one of the most common vitamin deficiencies that everybody has out there. Unless you kind of get it from nuts or leafy greens, it just helps modulates the NMDA receptor, so it allows you to kind of relax a little bit more. Not many people know that you can kind of use it for that principle, but it's something that I have used. I haven't had any of the gassy or laxative sort of benefits or anything like that you've said, but I've used that at night, just like 400 milligrams, and that's really worked very well for me as far as
But
relaxing and stress
but
management.
magnesium does that for sure.
Mhm.
I'm just questioning. I'm wondering you're using citrate and not like glycinate or
Mhm.
thionate or thionate
Yeah.
or something
If I
like
use
that.
if I use like glycinate, I usually use that like post workout or around training, some sort of time like that. I don't. Every time I've used citrate, it's just one of the ones that I've been able to use, and helps reduce stress. I don't take it very often, but it's only if I'm in a very high stress state.
Interesting. Maybe I'm getting my magnesiums mixed up because magnesium is used as a laxative.
Yep, it's definitely used as a laxative. They'll recommend you doing that, like if you have to take one of those exams. Well, drawing a blank here,
Yeah,
where you
like a
have to
colonoscopy or
like a
something.
colonoscopy. Yeah, they want you to supplement with something like that, post or something like that. But it's not a very, from what I have, it's not necessarily a strong laxative. There's
Okay, if
obviously a
you're
lot other
if,
ones.
if you're doing 400 milligrams, then you're probably fine. Yeah,
Yeah,
because
it's a low dose.
the magnesium citrate that I would normally take like for a laxative is like 1.75 grams. So
Yeah, you have to take a lot of magnesium, but if you just take a little bit, it's just enough to kind of control that receptor that allows you
yeah,
to
yeah,
like
yeah,
relax a little bit
yeah,
and manage
yeah.
stress a bit better.
And different magnesiums are kind of used for different things, depending on like
Yeah, there's a lot out there.
the magnesium in general will do the same thing, but
Mhm.
depending on which form you get, it can have more of an effect one way or the other. Um,
Mhm.
so, but yeah, okay, I got you. Cool. I'm glad I
Um,
looked that up because I was like, you're using magnesium citrate, like
it's
that
like, yeah,
makes
I'm shit. Yeah, man.
that makes me
Before I go to bed, I take a big old shit. No.
shit through a screen door. So, all right. Anything else on stress management?
Um, no, I think the biggest thing that a lot of people just don't do is just fucking relax. Like if
Yeah,
things are kind of going to the wire, just fucking relax. Find something that like you love to do, or that maybe you loved to do when you were a kid. Maybe you like to go ride a bicycle when you were a kid. Go freaking buy a bike. We're adults. Just go buy a bike and go ride around. See if that helps.
yeah,
You might be like, oh man, I really like this. I'm gonna start mapping out. Like I'm gonna go on like a 5 or 10 mile bike ride, just casual. Like find something that just brings you joy, because I feel like people, we get so stuck in a routine of life and everything else that goes around it with work, and we're so structured in certain ways that we forget to have fun and we forget to allow ourselves to relax a little bit. So that would be my takeaway, is just relax. And my favorite saying is, it is what it is.
it is what it is, baby. It's a
Yep.
life motto I live by. So, all right. Well, that's another episode of For the Love of Bodybuilding. Peace out, everybody. Till next time.
Peace.